pure sense of identity. Because what are their identity? I mean, in Serbia, maybe even more, I don't know, than in Denmark. Because of the transition, I mean, not the old identity doesn't work anymore from the communist period. The new one was the new capitalist Serbia and new identity and stuff was, to some extent, I would guess, problematic or something like that because of the wars and all those things. So where do they go with their identity? Who do they look up to? I guess they would have the same problems, and therefore I guess that this postmodern condition does also, I mean, it's also part of their reality. Am I right in assuming that?
Yes, we had some research about that, about identities in Serbia. And the problem in Serbia is not about postmodern identities. The problem is that after socialism, the traditional identities became very popular in Serbia, and all the national identity were very alive. During the 19th and now, even now, the ethnic and religious identity is very important in Serbia.
Yeah.
Even now, yes.
Yeah.
And there is postmodern identities in the about young people and so some groups, but this is minorities in Serbia. The issue is still about the traditional identities.
Yeah.
And the ethnic relations are still important in Serbia and in the region of the Balkans, and religious identity too. And there is a problem in the everyday life in Serbia about Muslims and Orthodox and so on. And we are everybody aware about that. And when some problem appear in Serbia, religious and ethnic identity are a part of this problem. And the structural problem of poverty, of unemployment is common for all the groups, for all the ethnic groups and religious groups. But that couldn't be excuse for not to solve this ethnic and religious problem. And we talk about our group, and we think that it is important to work simultaneously. Yes, it's a very difficult word. And yes, we are. A lot of people in Serbia are poor. A lot of people in Serbia are without jobs and so on. But there is some ethnic groups with specific problems. And there is a lot of lack of communication in Serbia. Not knowing about the other groups, about religious groups and so on.
So yes, lack of understanding.
Prejudices and stereotypes, and we, as sociologists, call that social capital, bonding social capital. In the small group, in the Orthodox, and we have some research about that. Orthodox with Orthodox and Muslims with Muslim and so on. And this is a lack of communication and a lot of other things. But in the level of politics, there is a will and there is some law about that. But de jure and de facto, it's a big gap in that area. And this is our a place to work. Yes. This is very big problem because we have some strategies about Roma, about poverty, about yes, people with disabilities and so on. But in the reality, there is no such implementation of these strategies. Yes, and there is some law still. That they are not very friendly about some ethnic group. It is place to work on that, yes, in Serbia.
So what you're saying is perhaps the postmodern condition is not so much the biggest problem in Serbia. But if I understand you correctly, the fact that you have different ethnic groupings make this problem that he's getting at just as big, just for another reason. I mean, the problem of making sure that there is communication and understanding and communication and understanding and room for having different identities. So the problem and the task for social work to create those rooms, both in legislation, both in approaches from social workers, both in communicating with different ethnic groups, saying, hey, come on, open to other, blah, 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 and all this.
Yes.
It will still be the same task. Okay.
Yes.
So I would guess also that he would say, okay, but the communicative, his point of having a communicative base under social work would then apply, I would guess he would say, from reading him. But you can read the chapter when I send it to you.
Jasper, may I
Yeah,
add
sure.
something? Well, you mentioned something about 1990s, and we are speaking now about ethnic conflicts and everything. It's definitely still actual, but we also have some new problems with multiculturalism, with facing with problems of LGBT that are not being solved, LGBT population. LGBT, lesbian, gay, bisexual, yes.
Yeah.
So we are having now, we don't have actually services that would fit their needs, and also we have a difficult political situation that are not allowing human rights in full measure. Yes, we cannot have a parade in Belgrade for a couple of years.
Okay.
And then we have lone mothers, for example, and not services that would fit their needs, and so on. So I think that now maybe bigger, I would put stronger accent on them, because we don't have any solution.
But would that be not necessarily only an urban phenomenon, but it sounds like in all of the European major cities there are urban ghettos or urban groups of minorities, for instance gays and lesbians, it could be lonely mothers.
They are not urban minorities.
No.
I don't understand them that way. Maybe I don't understand
They're
them.
invisible.
But not being able to have their own rights.
Okay.
That's especially in Serbia. It's not like that even in Croatia they have some rights, but in Serbian context they don't have. So that's very specific for our area.
And not only that, we have a lot of problems with family violence and violence on children and something like that. And context of ritual ritualization of families also put emphasis on violence. It's very hard to confront violent groups. For example,